So I am talking today with Karey Sitzler, a former teacher for the Dorothy Gerber Strings program, now living in Virginia. We look forward to Karey returning to Northern Michigan in May to join us for our 20th anniversary celebration. So we want to just take a few minutes today to catch up with Karey and hear a little bit about her experience way back in 2000 with the Dorothy Gerber Strings program. Around the year 2000, you were working for Crooked Tree Arts Center. Would you tell us the story of how what led to you teaching string students at Crooked Tree?
Sure. In 2000, actually in August, I was hired to be the education director at Crooked Tree. And my main job was actually taking the art students from the communities through the galleries for those gallery tours. Mm-hmm. And setting up that schedule with the schools. And then they said, by the way, the reason we want you is because we would like to also have you conduct our youth orchestra. And that's what I had been doing down in Kalamazoo, Michigan, the prep string system that feeds the Kalamazoo Junior Symphony. And so Petoskey seemed like a nice place to move and raise my kids. So I came and I was so excited for the first rehearsal and walked in the door, and I think there were about 12 kids there. And I believe that I'm right if I say that one of them had played maybe like 3 months. And then there were a couple of sisters who'd played and had been studying privately over with some people in Traverse City. And so the range was huge of level, but it was what we had, and so my philosophy is start where you are and go from there, So I sat down with my bosses at the art center and said, okay, who feeds this? What in the world? How do we build this? What do you do? Where are the kids? I've got to shake some bushes or something. And they said, well, actually, our schools up here don't have programs. And so I said, well, you're paying me full time, and I'm a certified teacher in the state of Michigan. So I met first of all with the superintendent in Petoskey and asked him if I could have even an hour a week in the elementaries and a room given to me and access to their students, and they wouldn't have to pay for the program. Since the art center was already paying for my position, I said, you can get me free if I can have space and kids. And they thought that sounded like a great idea. So we started in Petoskey, and you know how word spreads up Northern Michigan. People started to hear what was happening. And so it just snowballed. We went from school to school to school. And by the end of the first year, I think there were 17 schools. And it seemed like every month I was starting another 30 kids, or 60. And going out to Beaver Island, was the epitome of things, because I think they had, I'm trying to remember, 69 kids in the school that year, and we had 63 of them in the program.
Wow.
And, that was pretty cool. But at the end of the year, we got everybody all together at Bayview for the first time in 2001 and had that first concert. And it was amazing. I mean, it was just such a treat for me to see a little bit of the fruition of my work, but also, just seeing so many people enjoying playing.
Yeah, well, when I came up here in 2017 and people told me the story about the program, they always referred to you as the Pied Piper. So what was it that you did that attracted kids when you went in and reached out to kids at a school? What was it that caused them to want to join up?
I don't know. I hope it's my smile. No, I'm just kidding. I think it's, to be blunt, I think it's music that draws them. I think that kids love music. Mm-hmm. And when there was an opportunity for them to play, and not everything was perfect. Let's face it. I was the only person doing it. And I was traveling around to all these schools and driving all over, and sometimes in a snowbank, and, having to call from the cell phone and say, I'm not going to get there. I'm in a blizzard or whatever, but kids just kept persevering. And I don't know if there's any posters around left or not that said the fiddle is under your chin. And I just would tell them, look, that doesn't scare me. You're the ones that make the music anyway, So I did the best I could. got pretty good at teaching bow hand to 60 kids at once, which was a little bit bizarre, but I don't know. I think that what it was, to be honest with you, I don't think it was me. I think it was the music. Music draws people like a magnet. It gets at your very soul, and it's why this is my 45th year of teaching, and I'm still planning to, go as long as my legs will carry me into the building where I am down here, and I think music is really good for people, and that people innately know that at a very young age.
You mentioned that first concert at Bayview. I believe Peter and Gay Cummings were at that, and that's part of what led to them deciding to fund the program. They were amazed, as so many people were, with that experience. You want to talk a little bit more about that first concert at Bayview?
Well, we had so many kids that it not only filled the stage, and I made sure all the cellos were up there and, the basses and everything, but there were kids sitting in the front, umpteen rows as well in the audience, and so I found myself standing in the middle of, as Charlevoix's newspaper, please forgive me, I can't remember what it's called it a sea of violins. They said that I was standing in the middle of a sea of violins. And I have this funny thing I do, David. It's called bows up, mouths closed, because I tell them I'm not going to raise my voice to make you be quiet. You need to watch me anyway, because I'm going to be your conductor someday. So you just keep your eye on me. And if my bow goes in the air, you put your bow in the air, and the other kids around you will all follow suit, and we'll be quiet. And by gum, it worked. I was standing there in the middle of all those kids, and I raised my hand, and it was quiet. I couldn't believe it. It worked.
Well, let me ask you one more thing. How does it feel that, a project that you started and kind of birthed into being in 2000 is still operating in 2020, and it's built this legacy? It has reached thousands of students over these 20 years. Well,
I'm grateful. Because I never really, my kids were always joking, my own children, that we would be retiring to Beaver Island, at this point, right? Because they loved it out there too. And then things didn't go that way. I met Tommy and my husband, and we have had a wonderful life together here. And so it felt very odd to be leaving. But, I talked to Gail and Peter, and, I just said, please don't let this die. I really, because look at what's happening there, all these people that want it. And I'd like to say that I'm egotistical enough to think that it wouldn't have lasted without me, but that's absurd, because it had a life of its own. But I am so grateful for the work that you are doing. And I love seeing the involvement in Charlevoix. It just seems like it's such a great mix of support that you have, and your colleagues that you've hired to work along with the kids, and it's I think it's better than I could have dreamed. I don't know what my dream was. I certainly didn't expect to have all those kids. I thought we'd be in Petoskey,
Right.
But so it feels pretty darn good. It feels great to know, I guess, from one thing, if you don't mind me putting it this way, that I was right, that music is the card that draws, and that music is needed by kids, and a positive influence in their lives, and that because of that, it will last. And because of your hard work, and the kinds of things that you're doing with the program, I can't imagine it ever going away, I think you're building something lasting. It's really fun to see.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, I enjoy looking back to, the foundation that started it, and it's up to each person who comes along to carry that mission and that opportunity forward. So, here we are. You started it. I have the torch now, and in however many years, pass it on to someone else who hopefully keeps it thriving and serving the kids in the area. So we're really looking forward to talking with you more in May. Hopefully everything works out pandemic aside, that you can return to Northern Michigan and we can pick up this conversation, have a big concert with the program at the Great Lakes Center for the Arts, and really celebrate this amazing legacy over the years. And thanks so much for talking with me today.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.